I'm Claire Bozalaki here with Celestial Living, and I'm interviewing Nicole Marie Bone today, and I'm really excited for this interview. And here she is. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Nicole.
Oh, I hate that question. You start with that one. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, there's so many things about me, but you know what? I really like to talk about the things that aren't like my career or, these pieces of our identity that we like to associate with. I don't like to introduce myself as that. So, I am a dog lover. I am a music lover. I absolutely love to dance, and that's how I deal with most of my problems. And yeah, I guess that describes me pretty well. I'm very, I don't know, dramatic, maybe. You'll probably see that in this interview, but I say that in a good way.
Oh, I love that so much. So I know that you're branding under your own name, your own business here. So could you tell us a little bit about what you do in that?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of everything that I've learned, but my main business is definitely coaching. I feel that even when I'm doing tarot or cartomancy, which are a couple of my main forms of communicating with people, when I'm doing my Reiki, when I'm doing, kind of any layer, my creative projects, they're all kind of forms of coaching. So they all have messages, they all have lessons in them, they all have kind of my own energy associated in them as well. So I feel like truly I'm a spiritual mentor or coach, however you want to look at that. And that's just what I do. But I incorporate Reiki, I incorporate cartomancy, I incorporate all kind of channeled messages into my coaching. And yeah, that's what I do. I help women find their authentic truth. And that's really why I'm branding under my own name as well, is because I really feel that that's my most authentic way to build my business is under my own name, because it's my journey that brought me here. And it's who I am that I am helping people with. So
Wow, I love that. And I love that you use the term cartomancy. You never hear that, and it's such a cool word. Like, why don't more people use it?
right? It makes me feel more like, ooh, I'm like, you hear like necromancy and stuff, but like cartomancy, it sounds so magical. It sounds so magical. I love it.
So
And it encompasses everything too, because there's like tarot and Lenormand and Oracle and, angel cards. There's so many different versions of cartomancy, and you can just use playing cards as well. So yeah, I think it encompasses it better.
yes, I love that so much. So could you talk a little bit about like your spiritual gifts and which ones are like your strongest or your favorite?
Oh, I have over the last 10 years really worked on just opening up my intuitive body. So I really feel like I'm connected to my intuition on all levels. Following what my intuition says is a whole nother story, but I really feel connected on all levels. So I really, I can connect clairvoyantly to people. I can connect clairaudiently. I connect a lot through like clairgustance and clairalience. I smell things, I taste things. I can really feel with my whole body. So I think that my spiritual gifts kind of exist on all planes, and I can kind of connect to anything. And I think we all can truly. It's just about connecting to them. We all have all of those gifts, and we just have to build the connections, right?
Yes, I love that so much. So can you talk a little bit about how you built your connections? Just for anybody out there who's maybe struggling to do that now, like what kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, of course. So, so many people talk about validation like it's a bad thing, right? And I'm one of those people that will say the opposite. So, validation is actually like our masculine's way of communicating with the world. When we take action and when we interact with other people like we're doing now, basically that helps to confirm to our feminine, our intuitive body, ourselves, that what we're doing is correct. When it feels good, when we're doing things correctly, when we don't feel guilt or shame or regret or, those bad emotions, then our feminine goes, yes, yes, yes. And when we do, it says, no, no, no. And the trick is really to learn to both communicate through validation, finding the validation that resonates with you, right? So it's also validating yourself. It's also going inward and saying, you know, does that validation sit, right? Does that outside validation sit inside? It's using both sides. So when you start to learn to communicate outwardly through validation and then inwardly through self-reflection, you can start to open up those intuitive bodies. So for instance, when you're opening up like your throat chakra, really speaking what's on your mind, telling people how you feel, you know, really expressing all of your emotions in the moments in a healthy way is usually the best way to do it. I know sometimes they come out unhealthy because of traumas and things like that, but you know, learning to communicate with the proper people, to get the proper advice, to do things in healthy ways, but expressing is what's going to be able to get the validation to know what was right and what was wrong and where we're going in our life. So it's really being able to both connect masculinely with the outer world and with the people around us and the professionals and the you know, like coaches and all of the, you know, instructors that we have and mentors and coaches in our lives, listening to them and understanding what resonates and what doesn't and speaking up for ourselves. That's what's going to kind of unblock that throat chakra and open up the ability to speak freely. And when you open up your throat chakra, that's kind of the base, right? So I know our root chakra is our base chakra, but once you've opened up your throat chakra and you've learned to express yourself, you've kind of opened up your masculine outward force, right? So once you're able to start communicating how you feel, your authentic truth, your you know, your purpose, your all of those outward things, once you're able to open that up, then kind of all of your chakras start moving and you get this nice, beautiful flow through your body and you start opening up each chakra. So I guess my best advice is start with your throat, start speaking up, start being authentic and honest. And that's how your intuitive body will just start to kind of progress.
I love that. Would you like to give any examples from your own life, from the time that you were starting to do that?
Of course. So there's always those moments, right, where we're faced with like, actually, I'm going to talk about lying because lying is like a universal thing. So humans lie. It's like one of our best defense mechanisms, and it's absolutely normal. So this is something that so many people don't understand, is lying is absolutely normal and we all do it. So the one thing about lying is that we kind of feel guilty, right? So we get little bits of guilt with white lies. We're like, oh, you know, should I have said that? Am I going to have to, you know, defend myself in the future? Am I going to have to, you know, watch my words or whatever? And then you get the big lies where you're like, oh my God, I'm such a terrible person. I'm just the worst human on the planet. And we kind of go through that anxious stuff. So lying is a big throat chakra blocker, but it's super normal for the humans. The humans, I say it like you're all aliens. No, we are all totally aliens, but that's besides the point. So I used to lie. This is something that definitely was like a prominent feature in my life. Lying is what got me in the most trouble in my life. And things like addiction came on me because I lied about doing drugs before. Things like assault came on me because I lied about my age and put myself in just dangerous situations. And when you lie, it's not only going to affect, you know, the people who hear your lies, right? Because now they form opinions on you, whether they believe it's the truth or a lie, they're going to form an opinion on you. But you're going to form an opinion on yourself. And so I think that one of like the biggest anxiety factors in my life was lying. And it was what would keep me up at night. I would think, you know, oh my God, I lied to that person today. Oh my God, I lied to my work, you know, because I needed a day off, but I told them I was sick. Or, you know, I lied to my mom because I knew that she would stop me from doing that thing or whatever. And you just stay up all night thinking, oh my God, I lied about that. Oh my God, I lied about that. Oh my God, I have to keep this up. And so it became very overwhelming. And when I started speaking those things, so I guess how I started opening up is I hit this wall where somebody confronted me, right? So we all have that moment in our lives where we're confronted with a lesson and our karmic lessons kind of hit us. And so I was confronted with a lie, and I could have lied again. I could have, continued this lie, but I decided in that moment, that I was ready to grow. And I don't think anything happens, like it's not a coincidence. Everything happens, as it's supposed to. Everything happens as it goes, based on your experience, based on, others' experiences. But I think we hit our karmic lessons when we're ready for them. And we get to decide if we're going to, that's the free will. We get to decide whether we're going to learn them or just go like, I'm going to put on my horse blinder and pretend it doesn't exist. And that moment I was like faced with that decision. And so in that decision, I went, you know what, I'm just going to tell the truth and say, yeah, I lied. And when I said, yeah, I lied, when I opened up about that first lie, and I kind of explained myself as to why I lied, where it came from, they understood. They were just like, I've lied about stuff before too. And that why you lied, like, it's familiar to me. So I forgive you. And it was like an explosive moment in my brain. Like it was, I guess, just my upper chakras all kind of opened up in that moment. And I went, oh my God, I get it. Right? Like these were lessons. And as soon as I opened up as soon as I took that action, right? That's what it is. It's that masculine communication. It's outwardly expressing, through your voice or, your vision, expressing through art, expressing through, whatever you want to express through. We've got so many ways to do that. But as soon as I expressed that truth, it cleared so many blockages that I had. And as soon as I did that, I was able to start telling my truth to more people. And as I did that, I started grasping onto things like my cartomancy. And when I started grasping onto things like that and being more authentic and telling people, hey, like I read tarot cards, I do this. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I do this. Suddenly I started feeling better and better and better. And like all of these karmic lessons that were hitting me felt like more bearable. So really the advice that I have and, the experience that I had is just take the action, right? Just take the action. When you're presented with your karmic lesson, you have the opportunity to learn it or to walk blindly past it. And all of our karmic lessons are just going to, keep going into the next life. And we're going to learn them no matter what. Some, we are and some we aren't, depending on, what we're ready for in this life. But you just have to learn to take the step, even if it's one little baby step, express your truth. Tell that person that you care about them, you appreciate them, you're proud of them, express that somebody's hurt you. Tell somebody that, you lied because XYZ. You yelled because XYZ. This is why I did this. And when you start telling other people why, suddenly you know why. Right?
Yeah.
It gives you the opportunity to reflect and go, wow, like that's why I lied. Like I'm not a bad person. I actually lied for a reason, and somebody else understands it because it's normal, right? Everything we experience as humans, unfortunately, is normal. And so, yeah, I guess it's just every experience of being authentic has opened up more and more of my intuitive body. And it's all about taking action on what is real for you, right?
Wow, I love that so much.
I'm very talkative. So I hope I don't take over this for like so long, but yeah.
That's so great. I love what you said about like that lesson, opening up your throat chakra just opened up all your other chakras, which in turn opened you up more to your gifts. Like that's huge. So many people don't realize that those blocks, like you do get presented with those choices. And a lot of us do put on the blinders. I'm guilty of that. I'm sure we all are.
We all are, yeah.
Yeah, and that was really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And while we're kind of like that note, I guess my next question, I always ask everybody this. Would you like to tell us about a dark night of the soul and what happened afterwards that kind of changed your life and made you able to look back and see that it was all for a reason?
Yes. I've had many dark nights of the soul, and I'm going to warn you, they never end, right? Our karmic lessons, as we face them, some of them are really hard, and some of them bring us way down to the bottom, and they don't stop, right? They don't stop. They continue to happen because life keeps lifing, and it never stops. It never stops lifing. Lessons, healing, all that karma, the dark night, they don't stop. So one of my most profound dark nights was definitely about a decade ago, and it was before my entire spiritual awakening happened. Not to say I wasn't already spiritual at that time in my life, but it was just a very hidden part of myself, a very, I packed it down and didn't talk about it. So I had been having, it was not one thing, and I think that's the biggest misconception, is we think that one big thing happens and that's our dark night of the soul. But for me, it was like, one and then another thing and then another thing, and everything was building on it. So it was like, you lose your job, and then you get cheated on, and then you lose a friend, and then, you have a really bad day, and then you can't pay your rent or you can't pay your bills. And, things just kept building up on me. And it just felt like, I can't remember like exactly what happened, but I had this breakdown, and I basically went through my entire house and just started breaking things. Very, very unhealthy way to deal with my anger. But I had this rage from how I felt. I felt like nothing I did was getting me out of the bottom of that barrel. I felt like I just kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper. At this time in my life, I was an addict. I had been in an abusive relationship and gotten out of it. I had, tried to quit smoking, started smoking, tried to quit smoking. I was going through so many little things. And I just finally, my best friend got pregnant, I remember. And a lot of things changed in my life. And because we spent all our time together, and then, your life changes when you become a mom. So everything changed in my life, and it really made me feel unstable because I didn't have that support system that I was with all the time. And I think that actually affected it more than I knew. And I ended up just breaking everything in my house. I had a complete meltdown. I had stepped on glass and I had blood on my feet. And I remember I was just crying, and I called my mom and I said, I need you to help me clean this up, and I need out. I need out of this city. I need to be done. Like if I don't get out, I feel like I might kill myself. Like that's the point I was at. And so she said, okay, let's figure it out. Right. And just those words, like, let's figure it out, was what I needed. And I started, talking to friends, and I found a place in Victoria, BC, and a job in Victoria, BC. And I moved there, which it's about, 1,200 kilometers, which, would be like almost 2,500 miles. Like it's quite far, but it was just what I needed. It's an island on the ocean and with mountains and forest, and it's absolutely the most beautiful place I've ever been. And I lived there for a decade. And a couple of years after I moved there, I found this crystal shop. And I remember I felt so low, like I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know my purpose. I was fighting with everybody. I just, it's 10 years ago now. So I'm thinking back and I'm like, I remember fights. I remember everything. And I went into this little crystal shop, and actually this wasn't the hidden gem one that I was telling you about, but it was a different one. And I got this little crystal, and I went home, and I put it on my desk, and I already had some crystals because I've always been a rock hound. So I had some that I had, found in gift shops and things. So I put it with my other rocks, and I had gotten this little sheet of paper with it. And I remember it telling me about like spiritually what the crystal meant. And I think it was a laser quartz. And so it was like all about manifesting the life you desired and getting laser focused. And I took that, and me and my friend that I had moved to Victoria and I was staying with, we just dove right into fitness. So that was my first like healing venture, was my body. And I went from like a 2XL to like a extra small. Like it was just like I dove right in and went crazy, and in an unhealthy way almost, because I was coming from this dark night of the soul, right? So I was coming from this really deep, dark, worthless place. And so it felt like the only thing that made me worth anything was this unhealthy connection to fitness. So I would just go until my body hurt every single day. And I remember one day I just broke down again, and I had another moment. And it's like, people don't tell you this about the dark night of the soul, but it comes in layers, right? So like when you start climbing out, you hit these points where it's like, it's exhausting to heal, right? So, you do one thing and you're like, well, now that's all I've got is fitness. And I remember I got in a big blow up with the person I was living with. I ended up moving out. And then I hit another kind of level where I started exploring entrepreneurship. So I started looking into like MLMs and side hustles to kind of start doing things. So I became a Beachbody coach. I became a Tupperware consultant. I started doing Young Living, and then that was a huge shift. So Young Living actually introduced me into this holistic lifestyle. And then that was kind of where I was like, oh my God, I'm not in it anymore. Like I'm not in that bucket. Like I'm out. And it was like layer by layer, right? Like I just kept putting things in the bucket. I kept filling my cup until finally I was at the top of the bucket again, and my cup was full. And then I dumped it out. We always do that. So like I said, the dark night of the soul, it never kind of ends. Like there's always a point where we're like, no, I need to change. And when we change, we shift our foundation. And when we shift our foundation, everything kind of comes crumbling down, and we dump out our cup into our new foundation, right? Like we're like, okay, I'm done with that, and I want to fill up my cup with something else now. And that's okay, right? Like this is what I'm learning now, is like not to go all the way down into a dark night of the soul, feeling okay with emptying my cup that was filled with things I didn't necessarily want, and filling it back up with things I do want. So the dark night of the soul has kind of become more of a normal space for me. So if I do kind of fall into a lesson, then I know how to fill it up again. I go, okay, mind, body, soul, what do I need? That holistic approach changed everything.
I love that so much.
I'm a talker. I'm a chatty Cathy.
Oh my gosh. I love everything you have to say. So that's amazing. I was wondering what your thoughts are on karma that comes into play with the physical body. Like, do you think that, or I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I love that you're bringing up karma. It's like you're on my vibe here. Okay, so I have a very different thought about karma than most people. I also have a very different thought about ego than most people. So this might get interesting, but I believe that karma is actually just kind of our list of the things that we can't control. Oh. So, when you do something and you feel guilty about it, and you really can't control that guilt, or you do something and you don't even always intend to feel guilty, right? Like you do something with good intention and they don't like it, or it hurts them in some way, and then you feel this guilt. that's the I can't control, right? So our karma is kind of like the guilt, the shame, the regrets that we carry in our life and how they affect our future. So an example of that could be like, when you lie, right? Then in the future, you get presented with the opportunity to lie again, but you can either learn that lesson or not. Or you can reflect on the fact that it's super normal. And sometimes we need to lie for defense purposes, and sometimes we shouldn't lie because it's stupid, right? So our karma is just anything that we feel guilty, shameful, regretful about when we do it. That's how we build our karma. And the only way to release karma is to learn that you're human, right? So like the lie was normal, right? The anger was normal, right? The depression was normal. That's when you start to open yourself up to the karmic lessons, is really being able to understand the human experience and what it is. So karma is not like some raging menace that's, you got to watch behind your back and make sure she's not chasing you. Karma is literally just how we feel about the world around us in an uncontrollable way. So they were affected by this in a way that I didn't intend, or this lie spiraled out of control, whatever it is. That's how we carry our karma. So when we hurt people, we carry karma. And that karma is going to affect us. And we can either become angry from it, or we can learn from it. And we can, forgive ourselves and hope that other people can forgive us as well, right? And then our ego is kind of the opposite. And the ego, we so talk about the ego like we want to get rid of it, right? Like we just want to get rid of our ego. It's terrible. It's a bad part of us. Get rid of it. But that's just not the case. Our ego is just our divine masculine. It's the controllable part of ourselves. It is our self-worth. We don't want to get rid of our self-worth. It's our self-esteem, our confidence. There's a lot of good things in our ego as well. So the trick to the ego is not getting rid of it, but learning what it is, again, learning the humanity in it, and understanding that we can be egotistic or we can be authentically in our ego. We can be proud of ourselves. We can feel worthy. We can express authentically. That's your ego too, right? So the karma is like the uncontrollable, and it's the things that we feel without intention. It's the things that just happen, or how other people feel, right? And then ego is how you feel, what your authentic truth is, who you are as a human. And so they're kind of actually like our masculine and feminine. I refer to karma as your feminine energy and ego as your masculine energy. And they're both required, and they're both necessary, and they're both good and normal, and they're not bad things. So I'd like to drop that and get rid of the idea that they're terrible. So, yeah.
I love that. Literally everything you just said is almost exactly what I was just talking about with a client the other day. Like, I love that so much. Yeah, it's all those things that we like resist inside of us, that because when we resist them, they persist. And that's how like karma can follow us, because we're resisting it. Just like, you're talking about the block in your throat chakra because you lied. Like some people would kind of like call that karma in a way. And then, if you keep resisting that and you keep lying, then it's going to keep blocking. Where when you learn to release, then you're free. And
Exactly.
I love that. I love everything you just said. I keep saying that, but I do it every time.
We're on the same vibe. I love it.
Yes. Oh my
I knew
God.
we would be, though. I knew we would be.
I love that. Cool. Okay. So my next question for you is, who are the 3 most influential spiritual people, or just influential in your life, and why?
Oh, this one. Oh my goodness. So that's a hard one, because I think that every single human being that I have met in the realm of spirituality, in the realm of, karmic lessons, and, just almost any human I've met has impacted me in a way that I'm so grateful and so thankful for. And, every little thing counts. So I don't feel like there's any three people that have impacted me the most. But there are definitely some people that I really would, one of my favorite authors would be Eckhart Tolle. And he has definitely just expanded my mind in so many different places. I'm going to totally admit that I cannot listen to him, so I do not listen to his podcast. But I love his books. I absolutely love his books, and I've, read them and reread them. I have a mentor actually, and I met her in Young Living, and so many of the presentations that she did and so many of the lessons that I learned from her in Young Living, and now she's this spiritual mentor that I am dying to start working with, and as soon as I can afford to work with her, that is my next step. And her name's Echo Summerhill, and she is absolutely incredible. She has this amazing group of women called Soul Up, and I'm probably plugging her right now, but she is incredible. And if you can look her up on Instagram, because everything she says is just so authentic and real. And she learns her lessons right in front of you, and she teaches them right in front of you, and she's just I love her. And she's definitely inspired me on so many levels. And I would say then another person would be it's so hard to choose. I'm I don't want to leave people out. I'm one of those people that I'm but everybody's special. I had two Reiki masters. I had Lisa Powers. She does an online course. So I actually did her course online. And then I did an in-person course as well with Lindsay Rose. And both of my masters were just incredible, so enlightening, and, answered all the questions that I had always. And I just felt so supported in their spaces. So I would say both of them were very impactful for me.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. So now that we've talked about the physical people that have helped you along the way, would you like to tell us a little bit about your spirit guides and how you built your relationship with them?
Yes. Okay. So this is a really fun experience, actually. So I have a Native American spirit guide, and I have never gotten a name, and it's very interesting to me. And I don't know if it's just lost in translation, but I have had this guide my entire life. And I remember being very, very young when I first knew this guide. And it was just on an energetic level, and I had no idea what I was experiencing, but I was just kind of receiving this energy whenever I needed it, is the only way I can describe it. And one day when I don't know, I was maybe 16, 15, 16, I had just learned for the first time about tarot, maybe a year before this. And maybe a year, maybe two. And I met this medium, and she was actually I was living with one of my friends, and his mom was really, really spiritual. And she had a medium over that was, talking to her past loved one, I think. And I walked past her in the house as they were doing this meeting. And suddenly she looks at me and she goes, "Your spirit guide is right here." And I went, "Excuse me, what's that?" I don't even know what you're talking about. And she goes, I think it's actually an ancestor of yours, but they've stuck around to be your spirit guide in this life. And she starts telling me all about this man wearing a huge headdress, and he was very regal, and he followed me around and ensured my safety and was all about protection. So he was very, very protective. And she said basically that he was my spirit guide, my main spirit guide. And I was really overwhelmed at the time. I had no idea what any of this stuff was really. And I went, okay, cool. And I went about my life. And then I actually, in my Reiki training, I went through a meditation to connect to my spirit guides. And when I went through that meditation, I met this man, and he wasn't wearing a headdress or anything, but I knew it was him. And I asked him if he's been, following me around. I remember vivid. Honestly, it was one of the first times I had ever had a vivid meditation. Most of my meditations were just kind of like colors, but this one felt very vivid. It felt real, like a dream, like I was dreaming is really how it felt. And I remember talking to this man for 5 minutes just about life. And then suddenly he was just gone. And I came out of the meditation and I kind of went, okay, like that ended abruptly. But then every single time that I've gone into meditation, his voice is in my head. And every single time that I face a problem, his voice is in my head. And it's just this pride-driven voice, like, I'm so proud of you, keep going. It's like this encouraging, like, you're healing these things, keep going, you're doing great, keep going. And that's kind of my main spirit guide. So I met this spirit guide like way back in the day, and then he reintroduced himself, and ever since then I've just been fully connected. So that's my main spirit guide. But I do have like a few that they dance around me, is what I like to say. I think they kind of work with a few people around me, that is in, my starseed group, or my, my spirit soul family, whatever that is. But I call them the sprites. And it's because it's this energy of synchronicity that happens constantly in my life. Look at the sign. And I look at the sign and it's exactly what I needed to hear or see. You get these voices in your head that it's just like, oh, look out the window, and you look out the window and it's, the person that you wanted to see, right? Or like, it's just insane synchronicity where I will hear answers to things that I couldn't possibly know. I never really learned about them, or maybe I did, but on such a subconscious level that I really could never recognize that. And they'll be like, yeah, this is how it is in my head. So my spirit guides are very connected in a verbal way with me. I hear advice and I hear messages very strongly, and I connected to them just almost naturally when I started opening myself up to their possibility, to the idea that they exist, to the idea that I am guided, that I do have people surrounding me at all times. And as soon as I opened myself up to the idea that that was true, it was like I have, all of these spirit guides that just come through to me. And, some meditations, I get the full on energy and I see faces and I feel energies. I've had cougars come to me in my dreams, and I never dream. It's one of the things that I really am working on manifesting right now, is being able to dream. Because I think I blocked out my dreams. I used to have a reoccurring nightmare, and I think I actually blocked out my dreams. So that's something I'm working on. But I have had few dreams where it's like this cougar comes to me, I've had a few dreams where a bear comes to me. So I definitely have like spirit animals surrounding me as well. And yeah, it's just honestly, it's opening yourself up to the idea that it's real, to the idea that it is there. And that's how you connect to them, right? Is as soon as you open up your belief system, as soon as you open up your mind, then everything's available to you, right?
Yes. Wow. This has been such an amazing conversation already. Like everything you have to say is just so spot on. I love it so much.
I'm like channeling as we speak always. So there you go.
So in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait or strength that a person should or would need to have in order to be successful, like running a spiritual business? Because it's kind of like the dream for everybody. So I like to ask that.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh. So it's just keep going. Just keep doing. Just keep trying. Keep conversing with your masculine. Don't limit yourself. That's the biggest thing. Honestly, do not limit yourself. Don't say, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. When you learn Reiki, utilize it, see if it resonates, and then go with it. Then learn something else and learn something else. And the reason I say this is so many people are like, don't get overwhelmed with learning everything. But I think that if you just keep trying things, you're going to learn what is for you. That's how you communicate, right? With your inner self. So just keep trying, just keep going, no matter what hits you. Failure is just lessons. When we don't succeed at something, it's just trying to teach you how you can succeed. This didn't work. Try again. Try again. Try again. Try again. Never stop. That is the best advice. 100% for any entrepreneur, any human being doing absolutely anything is just never stop, and you will get there.
Yes, I love that. Don't let the imposter monster make you stagnant.
Right? Imposter, fears of abandonment, wounds. Don't let anything stop you from just trying, right? Just trying. If you do something and it doesn't resonate, it's okay to be like, that's not for me too, right? Like learn to be like, it's okay that didn't work, right? It's okay. I can try again. I can do something else. I can keep going.
Yes. Oh, wow. So would you say that you were like at a point in your life where you really kind of know like what you're here to offer the world?
Oh, heck no. Heck no. And nobody should ever pin their purpose on one thing. And this is another controversial thing, is everybody thinks they have one purpose in this world, but we all have thousands and thousands of purposes, and it's every single action you take. So no, I do not, but I also do, right? I know that as long as I take authentic action, as long as I do the things that feel right to me, as long as I continue to keep trying, as long as I continue to take action, as long as I continue to connect and I continue to do all of these things, I know that that's going to bring me fulfillment, right? So it's just about being authentic. It's not about one purpose. It's not about one thing that you can do. It's about the million things that are open to you. It's about the absolute endless possibilities that you can do, and doing as many of them as you possibly can.
Wow, that's so powerful. I love that so much. I love your overall, just like your vibe, your confidence, your authenticity. How, like, have you always been this way, or did that kind of develop over time?
I mean, I think it depends on the scenario for me. So, I mean, everybody's got their things that they feel good in, right? Like we've all got that one outfit that just makes us feel great. We've all got that one situation that's just cozy for us. We've all got those spaces that we feel good in. And so my confidence comes from the areas that I feel I know well, right? So something I've done my entire life is customer service. And that customer service has always put me talking to people, in front of people, interacting. So that's a space I'm very comfortable in. And so many people are like, oh, you're so confident. And I say I'm comfortable. Confidence is feigned. When you're comfortable, that's authentic, right? So how to make yourself comfortable, if I can give any advice, just do and do and do and do, right? Had absolute stage fright. So I could not, and I have been a musician almost my whole life since I was like a baby. I have been dancing, and then I got into the drums and percussion, and then I got into singing and all kinds of instruments, guitar, piano, all kinds of things. And I've always loved it. It's always been so a part of my soul, but I've always had a bit of stage fright around music. Whereas if you give me a speech and put me on stage, or you get me to act, I can just go for it. I'm fine with that scenario. But you put me on stage with a guitar and my voice, and suddenly I'm shaking. And so it's scenario. Nobody's actually always confident. Nobody. There's nobody on the planet that knows everything, so nobody can ever be confident in everything, right? So it's scenario based, and just that's how you can tell what's for you, right? When you start to do things and it feels good, that's going to make you more and more comfortable, right? The more things you do that feel good, that's what makes you comfortable. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy interacting with people. So this is where I feel my best.
Wow, that's so powerful. Oh gosh, you are amazing. This is everything you've said is just amazing.
You're making me blush. I'm getting hot now.
So we're coming up towards the end now. So I always like to ask, what is one question that you wish I would have asked you, and how would you have answered it?
Oh my goodness. One question that I wish you would have asked me. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what question that I wish you would have asked me. But you know what? Something that I love to talk about, and I feel like I've talked about almost this whole time, is just the communication that we have with ourselves. It's so, so important, right? Like I told you about validation from others that helps us build our intuitive body because it helps us trust ourselves, right? But you have to be able to reflect. You have to be able to communicate with yourself. So like you have to be able to learn how to journal for you, right? And not every method's going to work for every one person, but you got to be able to look at the words on the page and face yourself, right? You have to be able to sit with yourself and listen to your thoughts and hear them for what they are. You have to be able to do these things to move forward in life. And we do them naturally. We all do them naturally. We don't necessarily do them intentionally. And that's going to be the biggest shift for everyone, is when we start doing them intentionally. When we stop just writing down our feelings because we're angry, and we start writing them down to find out why we're angry, right? When we stop just freaking out through text message and we start actually asking questions. Why did this happen this way? Right? Why did you say that? What happened here? Right? When we start actually learning to converse with ourselves and how we felt and what's true to us, then everything opens up. So yeah, divine communication is key, and learning how to do that is key. And I love talking about it. So I feel like I already have. And I feel like I'm just adding on to that. But no, I feel like you've covered everything that I would love to touch on. I feel like you were just on my wavelength and you were asking me all the questions I wanted you to ask. So that's amazing.
So now I have to ask you a question, because I know that you were a health and wellness coach, and this just came up for me, and I just feel like I need to be vulnerable and just ask. So I've struggled with my weight my entire life, and I have tons of like guilt and shame around it that I've been trying to work on for years and years and years, but I am the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life, and I just feel stuck. So what kind of advice would you give to other people that probably feel stuck and overwhelmed by a challenge like that?
Yes. So everything changed for me. I was so stuck. I was the heaviest I'd ever been about 2 years ago. And I was so stuck. I plateaued. I had just had my daughter a few years before, and I just kept gaining weight after that. My body totally shifted. And I struggled with that guilt so much. And the biggest shift for me was switching from the diet mindset, the I have to do things this way, to the I deserve this, and shifting from it's about what I'm eating to it's about my stress.
Wow.
Our stress is the biggest factor, and not just mentally, but like physically, because stress releases hormones that cause just total dysfunction in our body. It causes the stress response, which, you know, we all kind of know about those different responses. Like, you know, we start getting irritable, we start, you know, to feel grumpy, and we start to feel moody, we start to feel emotional, we start to feel those things when we don't eat, right? And why is that? Why is that? The reason why is because stress hormones are greatly affected by our diet, by our consumption, by the things that we incorporate into our lives, mind, body, and soul. And the stress response is our body telling us something's wrong. So when we are stressed, there's something wrong. And when something's wrong and stressful, it affects, you know, your blood sugar levels. It affects it literally stops your digestive tract. It literally sends hormones through your body that, you know, either make you more hungry or less hungry. And we don't understand that that is the main cause of both weight gain, you know, eating disorders, basically any kind of stress when it comes to diet and exercise and, you know, the physical body. So the best advice I can give you is honestly just learning how to connect with yourself before and after you eat, and during, right? So some tricks that really, really, really helped me was I deserve good food. Okay. First of all and foremost is I deserve good food. Buy the better meat at the supermarket, right? Buy the fruit that looks fresh and delicious. Buy the things that actually look appealing that you deserve. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to get this because I can afford it. Oh, I'm going to do this. Shift from that mindset, and that's going to change so much. But the second thing is reflecting before you eat, going, okay, how do I feel right now? Am I stressed out? Am I eating quickly, right? Am I chewing my food? Am I even tasting what I'm eating? Am I liking what I'm eating? Does it feel good, what I'm eating? Is it making me feel good afterwards, right? Is it that reflection, that communication again with self, understanding exactly what you're doing while you're eating changes everything. It changes everything. I honestly did not work out more than twice a week, and I lost 50 pounds in 3 months just from reflecting and understanding what my body was saying to me. Food journaling is amazing. Writing down what you've eaten and how it made you feel. That's going to really help you understand what's good for your body, what's not. Asking yourself questions like, what foods make me feel good? What foods don't make me feel good? What exercise do I like and enjoy? What exercise stresses me out, right? And learning to understand where your yeses are and where your nos are, right? Your body will tell you. Your body will tell you exactly what you need to do as long as you pay attention to it, right? Our gut instinct will tell us exactly what we need to do for ourselves. We just tend to get caught up in the this diet and this diet and this diet and this diet and this one and this one and this one. We get so caught in the media of what everybody else is doing. And the trick is to look at yourself and go, what does my body need, right? I went 20 years having no idea that I was sensitive to tomatoes. I got checked for like a million different health problems because I constantly had digestive issues where I just felt sick from everything I ate. That's how it felt. I got tested for celiac disease and GERD and, IBS, Crohn's disease. I got tested for so many things and everything's like, nope, nope, nope. I got tested for normal allergies and they just thought I was crazy. That's kind of how I felt anyways. Maybe they didn't, but it's how I felt. And then one day, this woman that I follow, she's a holistic pharmacist, and she talks a lot about like natural remedies versus pharmaceutical remedies. And she talked about this allergy to tomatoes that people have. And I realized something in that moment, that I felt like I might be allergic to them. I felt like I might have fallen into that area. I was like, every time that I eat tomatoes, I feel sick. And then one day I was cutting up tomatoes and my hands started burning. And at the time, my husband was in front of the sink and I was like, okay, you need to move right now. My hands are burning. He's like, why are your hands burning? Like, what's wrong with you? And I said, because I was cutting up tomatoes. Like, let me wash my hands, acting like it's totally normal. And he's like, your hands burn when you cut tomatoes? I was like, yeah, that's not normal, is it? No, it's not normal. That's not normal. So I also consulted my mom, got some more validation. No, it's not normal. And I went, oh my God, I'm allergic to tomatoes. I'm allergic to tomatoes. It's crazy. I cut tomatoes out of my diet. Everything changed, right? Like the digestive issues that I had been being tested for years. All I had to do was pay attention to my body. All I had to do was pay attention to how things made me feel. And then suddenly I knew what was wrong and everything changed, right? So 100%, the best advice is pay attention to your body. Reflect on how you feel before and after you eat. Reflect on how you feel about the food you're eating. Reflect on how you feel about the exercise you're doing. Just reflect, because your body knows, your soul knows, and that's the biggest thing as a health coach is my clients know, right? I don't have to tell them how to become healthy. I have to ask them, how do you become healthy? What makes you feel healthiest? That's all it's about, right? Is there's no diet. I mean, we're all unique. We're all unique. There's not a single human being that ever existed before you or will ever exist after you or exists now. You're not just one in a million. You're literally one of a kind. And nobody can ever take that from you. Nobody, right? Like, doesn't matter if somebody looks exactly like you, they'll never have walked in your timeline. They'll never have walked in your shoes, in your family, in your experience. So everybody's different. We all consume differently. We all feel differently in our bodies, in our physical bodies. And so we need to honor that. We need to honor the fact that there is no diet that's specifically good for any one person, that's good for any collective. There's only diets that are good for any one person. So just reflect on how you feel, and that'll take you so far. But also there's so many more millions of tips and tricks that I can help people with. So health coaching is amazing. It's something that I 100% incorporate into my spiritual coaching, because your, mind, body, spirit are all connected. If one's out of whack, the other two are going to be out of whack too, right? So to balance them, we need to balance them holistically, right? So as a spiritual coach, body is something I always cover. Mind is something I always cover, and spirit. So yeah, I hope that was good advice.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you. On that note, now I just would like to ask you, if you want to just give a rundown of your services and how people can find you if they want to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. So, I only really connect through social media on my personal platforms. So you can connect to me on Facebook. I'm sure I'll be tagged in a bunch of posts with this. And also I'm on Instagram as Lavender and Lace. I've just gotten into TikTok, so I'm exploring that right now. Nicole Marie Bone, I think you can find me just with my name, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure. I do tarot. That's kind of where my main focus has been for a while, but I am also venturing into, more of the spiritual mentorship and creating a lot of group situations. So there's lots of stuff on the horizon with master classes and learning, and some really exciting things on the horizon that I'm not going to totally talk about now, but I'm sure that everybody is going to hear about soon. But yeah, I do Reiki, I do coaching, I do tarot, and cartomancy. I also do channeled messages and letters. I do written channeling, I do spoken channeling. Yeah, and I'm very creative too. So sometimes I, throw some jewelry in there or things like that. I also work with crystals. I'm learning astrology, numerology, all those things. So I incorporate all of that into my coaching. And yeah, I think that's good. My website is NicoleMarieBone.com. You can find my podcast on there. And I think that's everything. I think.
So much for being interviewed today and being willing to answer all these questions and for being so authentic and sharing such amazing advice. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was so excited to be here. I've been talking about it all day, and I'm so happy that this happened. Yeah, thank you. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm so grateful for this group, and I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you. Well, that'll be it for now. And thank you so much again for joining us.
Bye.